Hello, this is Bob, and I joined the U.S. Navy Air in 1965, went to school in Memphis, and then was stationed at BobVW1 Squadron. The squadron was stationed at NAS Agana Guam, and on the left-hand side was the air base, and on the right-hand side was the international airport. And these are the kind of barracks that we stayed in, cement buildings. We flew EC and WC 121 Willy Victors, also known as the Super Constellation. This is the Navy, our squadron's paint job, gray on the bottom, white on the top. The Air Force also flew these planes, and in this drawing you can see what kinds of instrumentation was on the plane. He had a top radar, APS 25 height finding radar, on the bottom an APS 20. Ours had a 500-mile diameter. It's also had 24 UHF radios, 4 VHF radios, and 2 HF radios. In many cases, this plane was known as the Flying Guppy, and this is an artist's rendition of that. Inside the Willy Victor, you saw the standard cockpit, and I got to fly on the right-hand side a couple of times. You had the navigation and engineer station. You had the galley. Right behind the galley would be the ECM equipment and navigation on the left-hand side and radioman on the right-hand side. Then you had CICS, the radar stations. There were 5 radar stations, and this shot is facing towards the cockpit. The mission of our squadron was first Typhoon tracking, then air search rescue, then on-scene commander, and air early warning. From a Typhoon tracking standpoint, if you went into a Typhoon that was over 100 knots, you ended up getting a patch like the one shown here. And I ended up with a number of those patches. These are the Typhoons that were in 1967. And these are the Typhoons that were in 1968. And it was in early 1968 that our plane ended up getting pushed over China during flying in one of the Typhoons. This is one of the few satellite shots of 2 Typhoons in 1968. And this is what the radar looked like when you were looking at it. This had about a 250-mile diameter, this particular Typhoon. In our plane, we normally went in at around 10,000 feet, and the lowest we ever got pushed was 500 feet. So this is a little bit exaggerated drawing with this right off the water. I don't think that we ever got that close. When we were doing on-scene command, we would fly from Guam to the Philippines, and then the Philippines to Vietnam. We were stationed in Chu Lai, Vietnam, and this is what the base looked like with our bunker right on the right-hand side. We would fly from Chu Lai up north every other day and fly an east-west pattern between North Vietnam and Hainan Island. Our primary job was to look for aircraft flying out of Haiphong Harbor, look for PT boats, and then also assist in pilots being shot down over North Vietnam. So we would vector search and rescue aircraft as well as people that were trying to locate downed pilots. In Chu Lai, I primarily flew with Crew 4, commanded by Lieutenant Commander Bates. We always had at least 2 planes in Chu Lai, one flying one day, one flying the next. Here you can see Crew 4 and Crew 9. When taking off from Chu Lai, you wanted to bank to the left as quickly as possible and get over water, ideally so you wouldn't get shot by the Viet Cong. If you had engine problems, we had a bunker where you could sit there and make repairs. We usually carried a spare engine and many parts, both electrical, hydraulic, and engine. Thank you very much.